a little bit about this Camille in the sense where, you know, Nilly will be in the side lane, be a real problem. You know, he can jump onto Lingui and really bully him out if he can get into range of him. But there is on the other side, in a team fight, if he decides that Chris Berg is the person he chooses violence versus, the Alistar can headbutt him out. The League can kick him out. Even technically, the Gnar can displace him and end that Hextech ultimatum. So there are little things on that front to be thinking about, which made me make it a little bit harder. I really want a level 1 5v5.
A little standoff going in here. I
really want that level 1 5v5. I feel Verdant don't want that level 1 5v5. There is way too much. I mean, the Alistar headbutt pulve, or just the pulverize, I guess, at level 1. Be really impactful. So they are just going to back away as they move off towards their blue side.
Right. So the reason why I was saying it's pretty difficult to see what Vanir actually want to do is because, like, you have an early game jungler in Ploxy, right? Lee Sin did get some scaling buffs, level 13 onwards. I believe that's what Freak said in his rundown. But your only setup early is this Alistar, right? Every other lane kind of just sits there and chills, whereas the side of Verdant has way more tools and scaling, right? Verdant can Camille R plus Vi R onto the Gnar, right? And it's just impossible to play. That's typical. That's why you take Camille into Gnar. In isolation, Gnar can actually win that, but Camille's setup is too threatening and too good, right? And then you have the, I think what's going to happen is just like scaling bot side with maybe a play with Alistar at one point, but very likely they just get pushed in. You can see Clyde just walking at him. Alistar level 1, notorious for being pretty weak, and the volatility is probably going to be around top side.
Notorious for being pretty weak is a pretty nice way to put it. He's garbage. He's literally he's not a champion until level 2. He's just a walking ward who can occasionally knock up if you misposition into it. Chris Berg eating the first half of a boomerang blade and that glitter lance there from Clay, heavily chunked out. And I mean, this is what you expect when you have that Alistar. You are just gonna unfortunately get shoved in. Level 2 gets picked up by the side of Verdant. They have now got themselves an advantage in that bottom side. We'll see whether or not they can maybe contest this a little bit further.
Yeah. Very standard start. Gnar getting the push top, Victor getting the push mid, being that lane bully he is, and bot lane getting the push for the side of Verdant. I think this is all going as expected. I don't expect too much to go on because both sides really don't have much setup, right? Both sides are just very content scaling. I'd be willing to bet this is a very slow game unless there are some jungle shenanigans with this Lee Sin now.
Oh, Bloxy was thinking about it, but has decided he's not able to do so. I think partly because this Pixel Brush had a ward in it, and he was probably seen moving over. Touch now has hit that level 2 mark, so it does have the headbutt pulverized, but level 3 has now been picked up by Kevo, and Chris Berg is just mega chunked. He's still got a potion to work with if he wants to keep himself going, but remember, he started longsword, triple potion, and he's already burnt 2 of those potions, and probably will have to think about chugging that third one any moment now. Ploxy, I don't really think he's that set up. Is maybe going to get jumped onto here by Clay and Kevo, but they are just going to move away.
Crab just secured. I think it's going to might be a double crab. You could see Lingui is actually dropping a wave to potentially move down and gank Errol. This would in turn secure Crab. This is a kill.
Lingui with a very, very creative little roam at level 3 into mid lane. Just able to secure the kill onto Errol. Ghost comes out from Luca just to make sure he's extra safe, extra hard to pin and kind of get killed by Errol.
Yeah.
Really, really nice stuff there, actually, from Lingui.
I think what happened there was Lingui actually crashed the third wave into a cheetah recall. And then instead of walking straight back topside, what he did was walk through the jungle, which gave him the option to potentially roam down to mid. And then, because the opportunity presented himself, he just turned up and autoed him to death. So really nice bit of gameplay, not just walking straight top, because then he would have lost the opportunity. Really good stuff from Lingui, giving himself opportunities with pathing.
Yeah, very, very nice indeed. Is down pretty significantly in the farm department. Errol now doing the same thing. TP's into mid, making to look for a play on the bottom side. Chris Berg's low HP. Errol does have the flash, gets the movement speed off the Q, looks for the slow. Chris Berg chunking out, and down goes Touch. Errol secures the kill.
And these roams early are not something I would have expected, right? These champions are not notorious for roaming. Gnar roams are pretty pathetic, right? So are Cassiopeia roams, but they're managing to make it work. And Touch is having a really miserable time now.
Yeah, really, really rough there. And Chris Berg, in the meanwhile, now getting a large wave shoved into him. I believe he's able to pick up the majority of it, but even so, it's very, very low. And a couple of ricochets and a boomerang blade, and he's down. And I think he's very much aware of that.
It's incredibly hard to play melee supports into double ranged right now. Just so many nerfs over time, right? You got second wind nerfs, everything like this nerfs. And they did, basically what they did this patch was they tried to buff melee support's tankiness to allow them to engage multiple times, but it's just not working out for them. They're never allowed to engage right now. Touch is just not finding the angles, and then he's just not allowed to like constantly reset with HP and the regen from the buffed healing, right? Yeah, there's just no setup. I think Tax is just gonna be completely fine, and they're all gonna get out here.
Well, Touch is in the area. There is a 3 versus 2 right now, but Clyde's made his way over. They see him as well. They're pretty much giving away, but they are jumping in. Touch thinking about going in for the headbutt. Pulverize gets jumped onto by Tax that already loses a lot of HP. Gets a 2-man pulve. And that is a massive poly coming down. Errol takes a whole bunch of damage. His Kevo's also made his way in. Gravity Field to disengage to the side of Vanir. That was a little bit sloppy, to be honest, on both sides.
There is so much disengage as well, right? There is so much disengage as well. You have Gravity Field. Eventually, you're going to have Lee Sin kick. You have Headbutt Pulverize. I think Lingwee's going to land an ultimate here for a big chunk onto Nilly, but Nilly with the fancy feet doesn't get hit here. But yeah, just going back to that mid lane play, this is why I was so confident in saying there's just nothing's going to happen. It's because the level of disengage, you have Cassiopeia and Miasma just on the floor. You can't walk through it. They tried to engage, but Cassiopeia, like the purple gas, it just doesn't let you walk past it. You can get polymorphed, gravity well, everything just refuses to let you fight early game. And that's why we're having a slow game right now.
I mean, I genuinely think Miasma is the most miserable ability in the game.
Miasma, that was it.
I absolutely loathe it. I absolutely loathe it with all of my being. It's such a boring ability, man. Like, oh, you can't flash, and you're slowed, and it's quite big, and it also does a dot damage. Like, I hate it. I hate it so much. Obviously, very situational in where it's actually useful, but god damn it, I hate it.
And this is where they value it, right? Like, they picked it into the Alistair and the Lee Sin. So, despite potentially getting counterpicked, they said, you know what? It's worth it for the team to have this level of disengage. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think you could have picked something like maybe a Talia, which also has a good amount of disengage and also synergizes with that vibe. But again, champion pool issues potentially. And maybe I'm just wrong. That's what I would do, though.
I think that's fair. Either way, deciding not to go for that, and the Cassiopeia has had, you know, its impact and its non-impact. I mean, Lingwee's roam into the mid lane. Maybe not the greatest for them as Touch, actually, we do see jumping in for a fight onto Clyde. They pop the ultimate there. He's going to jump forward. Clyde's losing a lot of HP. Remember, Zeri can steal away these shields. Just one of those kind of, like, almost forgotten aspects. As Nilly going low. Not going to be going down, however. Action, honestly, breaking out across the map everywhere.
And Lingwee throws a satellite at Nilly, but he managed to get with a sliver of HP. I think this is going to turn into a Herald. They do have numbers advantage for the side of Vanir, so yeah, I don't think this is ever going to turn into anything. Touch very low, bot lane extremely volatile, top extremely volatile. I think they were both looking for a gank before Herald spawned to potentially secure it for themselves. A little tempo gank, you know, into the lane to potentially chunk out the enemy top laner or the mid laner and force them to recall, securing the Herald with a numbers advantage. Goes the way of Vanir, and in the end, they get the Herald. Let's see what they use it for.
Yeah, let's see where they go with it. I partly feel like I'd like to see it go mid, because it means that second one will result in the tower going down. You open the map up, you force the Cassiopeia back. As long as Cass has this mid tower, she's very safe. With the miasma, with the ultimate, like, you can't really do much into Cassiopeia. She'll just clear the waves out. So I actually feel like I would like to see that there. As Lingwee just getting a nice old bully onto Nilly, gets another hyper proc. Has now got that, has almost got the Gnar back up and available. It's actually still on cooldown from the previous time. Earlier ranked, no, you don't have it up every time you're Gnar out. As, are we seeing a gank?
We do have Vi ultimate. Cease and Desist is incredibly potent at finding this. Luca hanging out in Fog of War, same with Touch. And they do see them coming. Oh, Touch was sitting on a pink ward, actually. I don't think he realized. I didn't realize.
No, the pink ward went down by Cly.
Ah, okay. Because I only just saw it. But Dragon started up. Priority over to the side of Verdant. They're all on the objectives, but Errol is crucially like stuck outside the pit. You want them to come into you, so he ideally starts inside the pit. And he's a very awkward angle right now. He can get turned onto. This is a very sketchy fight for the side of Verdant.
They're going to throw down the Chaos Storm there. Touch maybe looking for that headbutt pulverize onto Errol. Does have the flash, but it's not going to land it. And honestly, that was just a bit of a questionable one there from the side of Vanir. The shield goes onto Kevo, so Chrisberg just changes his attention into Cly. There's a bunch of damage off onto him. Still haven't seen that Herald get used. They probably could have just given up the dragon, heralded mid. is honestly an option for the side of Vanir there, but they decided not to go for it. Ploxy somewhat struggling now to find a position to go and a place to go.
Yeah, and that fight was really peculiar as well, because I don't think Errol had the best positioning, right? As Cassiopeia, you want people to come into you, right? Because then if they come into you and, you know, they get miasma'd, you typically win in all ins, right? But he was caught off, like, all the way towards mid lane and wasn't near the pit, so his team couldn't follow up. I was wondering if Vanir pulled the trigger sooner. I would have to go back and see, like, how far away his like Chrisberg was, because I think Chrisberg was running from base. If they pulled the trigger sooner, maybe they could have found a fight. Regardless, Dragon does go over to Verdant, and the game is back to a fairly neutral state. I think there's going to be a gank topside soon. With this setup from the Vi, I think it's just going to start now.
Yep, Lingui is going to try and flash out, but they pin him in place. Nowhere for this Gnar to go. And Nilly's able to find the kill. Just greedy. He knew his entire team were on the other side of the map, and he was just stepping up. It looks like with that jungler showing up and how low this tower went from earlier, Ploxy and Luca rotating down with that Herald. They're looking to secure first tower blood. They're looking to secure a team fight for themselves. Kevo, low HP. Through the wild growth, he goes down. Errol TP's in. Touch limps out of the fray, catching him with the petrifying gaze over the wall. Down. Cly is low. The tower is going down. And now Errol's being exposed. Cly gets the shield off, and the laser beam's able to get him. They're able to save it the day. Chrisberg loses his life. Errol flashes over the gravity field. Chaos Storm in. Miasma down. It's a double kill for the Snake.
And you can see the value of the Cassiopeia pick coming online here. Everyone trying to come into the Cassiopeia, but she always out DPSs. That is the nature of the champion. We get the replay right here. This is a really nice dive. This is a really nice dive from the side of Vanir, except for the fact that they don't pay attention to the fact that Errol has teleport, right? Teleport advantage. And then he could just turn the entire fight. The Petrifying Gaze managed to catch 3 people. And then this, I was completely wrong here, right? I called the Herald killing the tower, but that's just not true. Since the nerfs to the Herald, first Herald does 1.6k damage, not the full, 2.5k of the old Herald. And then you just see Errol cleaning up towards the end, managing to run down Luca.
I totally forgot about those Herald changes
as well.
I did too. I was like, wait, what? I did no damage.
Yeah.
That was a little bit rough. Unfortunately, first tower blood does still remain open to either team. That mid though, that bot though, is already very heavily chunked out already. Taxa now maybe looking for a repeat gank onto Lingui. Has got himself the ultimate up, and now he needs to find the escape out. Ooh. Just about able to get underneath his tower. Lingui honestly playing very aggressive in a lane where, he hasn't really got the vision coverage or the team attention to be playing that far up. He needs to understand that he is kind of playing weak side right now.
Yeah, and this has been one of my criticisms of Lingui over the split. He was very hyped up coming to the split, but like from the very, very early on games, he was making isolated mistakes where he would have no resources and very obviously would be dived, be cross-mapped on or something like this, and he would take trades. I think that's one of his biggest weaknesses, being maybe having resources put like against him and being camped whilst his team plays elsewhere. Doesn't look like it's getting any better either. I think he needs to really improve this aspect of his play, his ability to weak side, because that is definitely a definite error.
Yeah, absolutely. Is for now holding up, though, as the first tower does go down. We'll see where Chrisberg rotates. I'm going to assume we'll probably see him maybe even swap into that top side and just look to try and take the tower down. A bit of an old school thing from the AD carries there to go into that top lane, though. See what he decides to do. He's got that Immortal Shield Bow finished up and is actually looking to maybe grab just a little bit more farm before resetting. I think he's fairly close to a major component for his next item.
Yep.
Looks to be the case as he's not going for the reset after taking that first tower blow. He's got 1,400 gold, yeah. Okay, he just wants to get as much gold for this reset. The big difference is, though, with the Herald spawning up, Chrisberg isn't going to get that 1,400 gold worth of the gold lead he's got over his counterpart at the moment. Touch is getting everything thrown onto him. They are really trying to deal with him, but he is nigh unkillable with that the Unbreakable ult up.
Interesting choice. I feel like they knew that was never going to be a kill, and they were so confident that they wouldn't get punished for it because Touch would get chunked so hard, right? And despite having no ultis, they say, you know what, we're going to do this, chunk him out, and then we'll secure the Herald. Happy to give the Dragon over. I feel like that probably wasn't the optimal play, and I feel like that was a bit of a head-scratcher. I think they could have probably gone for something else because Vi, her entire kit is their ultimate, right? Because now you don't have that ultimate, and you give over that Dragon to Vanir. I don't think they need to do that. I think they could have found a better fight and maybe secured Dragon and Herald. Regardless, they managed to find this turret. Second charge from the second Herald, rather. The first charge from the second Herald will do more damage than that first one. Managed to pin down Lingui, and this is why this matchup is so good. I think Lingui's going to go Mega, though.
He's got the wallop! No! The outplay! Lingui coming in huge! Sure, the charge goes down, but they're going to be happy regardless. Klai not going to get caught out by Chrisberg. Ah, Lingui. We have been critical this game, and I think it's rightfully so, but that was very clutch. He just hung on perfectly.
Lingui just not managing to find the burst right before he dies. Manages to buy enough time to turn into Mega now. I think we're going to get the replay here, which is really nice. You can see here, he's so close to Mega. The burst doesn't come out despite having 2 completed items in Black Cleaver and Divine Sunderer. Manages to turn Mega and wallop it into the tower, turning around the play.
Absolutely lovely. They don't stop the charge, but the turret will recover some health over time. As we're seeing where the rotate's going to come out here. We're seeing Chrisberg building towards that Infinity Edge. Has got the BF Sword and the Crit Cloak in his inventory now. Versus Kevo, who is a level down and just has that Kraken Slayer. So is actually pretty significantly behind where Chrisberg is at. And Chrisberg will become a real threat once that IE is finished up as well. So something they're going to have to kind of keep in mind as we move later. I believe we had a Hurricane second in our previous Zeri. I might have been wrong there. They might have got it third. I actually can't remember their build now. There definitely was a Hurricane in there. Luca, maybe being a little bit up in that lane. Yeah. Got good vision coverage though, so is able to step away.
Yep. No, definitely. I think this just highlights the danger of playing Victor. Look how far back he has. And in mid game when he has to catch sidewaves, he just can't do anything because of the threat from Taxa on this Vi. The threat of the ultimate, the point and click, and he just dies, right? With that follow up, I guess you could put Miasma under the Vi ultimate, and then you just can't move, right? So yeah, he just has to stand really far back. This opens up plays for Errol to be able to move first and maybe move down for a skirmish. Ultimately, though, the level disengage is too good. However,
they do pop the ultimate there. I don't think they're going to be able to find Chrisberg, but Touch jumps in immediately. The Wild Growth comes down. Now they're looking to see if they can keep Chrisberg going and alive. Lingui's about to gnaw out. He's caught in the miasma. They got the lockdown on the Chrisberg, but the shield bow is able to keep him going, able to keep him sustained. Another polymorph comes out. Ploxy flashes forward and finds himself the kill. Look at the damage coming down, though, from Chrisberg. Flashes forward, unable to find that kill. So close, though. And if Luca was there a little earlier, that could have been very much more Vanir favored.
And Chrisberg just not finding everyone on the sliver of HP managing to walk out. Really weird fight. This whole fight starts out with everyone dumping every ability onto the targets you don't want to dump your abilities on. I think Alistair engaged onto the tanks, and then Vi ulted the Alistair, and just in the end, the reason why Vanir win is because Chrisberg on this Zeri specifically is an amazing cleanup champion. And if you run out of engage options onto the Zeri will just win and clean up and get a pentakill. That's just how she works. And that's what we saw. Chrisberg almost taking over that entire fight.
Yeah, very close. Maybe when the IE's done, it looks a little bit more different as has now backed and got that pickaxe. Kevo also bought a pickaxe, but you know, we'll be building towards the Navari over the IE second here, as most civers do typically go. Chrisberg, that barrier honestly saved his life because Errol hit him with the petrifying gaze.
Yeah.
On the miasma as well, there was literally nothing Chrisberg could do. He just had to pop barrier and pray that he was going to survive the onslaught from the snake. Was able to do so. Meanwhile, seeing a tower go down in the top side, Ploxy is able to defend the bot lane turret. But the question is he going to be able to defend it any further? Because there's 3 members also rotating over towards Ploxy's location. So it looks like it is just going to be tower for tower traded out.
Yeah, and a lot of vision setting up for this dragon, this second dragon. The teams have deemed it very important. Vanir haven't been able to move in. You can see all that blue side trinket vision from that bot side, giving over flank vision, right? Potential for Nilly to just flank the enemy team. I think that's a big way that you kill Chrisberg. You just get behind him and ult him. Same with Vi, same with the Camille. Regardless, they managed to get the first wave in, have control of this pink. I'd like to see them defend this a little bit until this dragon spawns. I think Vanir are going to be able to hit the next wave first, though. Looking at TPs, Errol will be able to TP over if there is a big play, and Lingui is already walking down. So expect Errol to TP over soon.
Yeah, Chrisberg actually went for a reset. He wanted to have the IE for this fight. That is potentially a difference maker, having an entire item over his counterpart. The big problem is, though, is he hasn't actually got the flash. He may get barrier up in time, but Dragon has already been started. Lingui closing in on having that Narbar built up. As it looks like both teams being a little cautious, not too cautious, just a little bit cautious on overstepping and overstaying their welcome. Touch can do a good zoning job here. Now Lingui has gone Mega. Verdant have to give this up. This is just Vanir's for the taking. Even with the reset, there it is. Dragon number 2 over to Vanir. And they're also going to get the inside track on mid off the back of that.
Interestingly, I think Chrisberg thought it was too dangerous, but I really feel like he could have saved some time and made that Dragon even more secure if he took the Hextech portal, but maybe his mind was elsewhere looking at everything, you know, he just walked instead. Still, Dragon goes over to Vanir. The raw threat of Lingui on this Mega Gnar, who's now pulling his weight really well, is just too much, and they decide to back off.
I think there was maybe a world where he didn't have vision on, like, Errol, and he just didn't want to immediately get caught coming out of the Hex portal, because that is just a free loss on the Dragon. So maybe there was a world of just playing respect and saying, I'd rather just be a little slower and make sure that I'm here to contest than just getting taken out.
And now, going back to the standard, Errol's going to move back bot lane. We're seeing a standard 1-3-1 constantly. Like, both teams just handshaking sideways, hoping they outscale. I think the scaling factor goes over to the side of Verdant, because once again, they do have the Enchanter. And also, the way that the team fighting goes, like the dynamic, the way the team fighting goes, is Vanir have to go into Verdant, right? Like, you have a Lee Sin and an Alistar going in there with not as much range. I guess you have Victor. But with that dynamic, it makes it very easy for Cassiopeia to fight as the game goes on. So I would edge out the scaling factor to Verdant, which puts Vanir on a little bit of a timer.
Yeah, it definitely does. Well, for now, game's definitely taken a bit of a slower pace. They slowed down again. It feels like, you know, when the objective comes up, things get heated. And then when those objectives do wear off and are taken, then it just kind of goes back to farming. And, you know, you do have to keep in mind there is a Sivir on the other side. And when you hit that kind of 3-item mark, that is a very, very scary time to be playing into a Sivir. But at the moment, significantly far behind Chrisberg, who, you know, has already finished up that IE, sitting on another 800 gold. I believe that Navari should be just about finished up here for Kevo. I can't remember the exact cost with just a longsword and a pickaxe off the top of my head. But he's got to be pretty close at this point, if not have it finished up. So we're probably maybe looking to just catch those extra last couple of waves before finishing that item up for himself.
I think Nilly's moving up now. Maybe he's going to use this prior to try and find a flank. That's what I would potentially do. Or he uses it to maybe clear the way, clear out vision. Look at that vision. It's so hard for Nilly to even try to split push because there's so much vision. I think he needs his teammates. And yeah, you can see Taxa potentially come down. I would call for Taxa to potentially come down, help clear some vision, you know. Let Nilly split push a bit more because he definitely does win 1v1, right? I guess it's actually pretty close because that is 2 items to 1.5. I thought both had 2 items. But still, I would like to clear some vision, be a bit more comfortable catching these waves. But maybe they value the ability to be on Baron and just deny that rush. Maybe that's something they're scared of. Or just maintain control in case they can rush it. Because Cassiopeia is incredibly like infamous for rushing down Barons. Does it really quickly.
Yeah, I mean, Cass is one of those champions, you know. Especially when you have like a Leandres. You just have the dot. You also just have the machine gun mage status. We'll have the E and the Q maxed out at this point, I believe. On the other side, though, you know, you've also got Chrisberg on the Zeri. Like, Zeri also very quick at taking these objectives. Able to do some serious damage, especially now the Zeal has been finished up. Always half an item over Kebo. So in team fights, we'll just be able to output a lot more than what Kevo can at the moment. Kevo, though, does obviously bring a lot of utility to the team, just passively off having his ultimate, being able to speed everybody up, make sure Taxa can get the movement speed and actually find the openings to pick up the likes of Luca or Chrisberg in a fight.
Yeah. Dragon spawning in 1 minute, 5 seconds. Both teams just fresh off of a reset now, coming out with fresh wards. Going to try and maintain vision on that Baron, because I feel like there's a game of chicken going on right now. There's a game of chicken of... like from Verdant saying, you know, we might contest this Baron. Look at them all posturing, right? They're threatening that rush, which is something we're talking about constantly with that vision. And Vanir have no idea. They have no wards in the entire quadrant, except for a pink ward near their tower. So definitely something they have to be wary of. I think if they get sniffed out here, they might just walk down and start setting a vision on that dragon. Or maybe they just trade third Drake for Baron. We'll have to see.
Well, let's keep our eyes out as Taxa. Not going to find himself caught. He is a vibe. Oh, Luca! That is not the position. He doesn't have a stopwatch to buy the time. Does get the lockdown. Does get the flash out. Nearly's heavily chunked. Chrisberg jumps to safety. Pops the ultimate in the meanwhile. Lingui misses the R. They jump straight in onto Chrisberg, but unable to connect. Unable to find their openings. There's the shutdown. There's the pickup for Luca as they are chasing in for yet another kill. Klai is being caught and Lingui will secure the kill.
And Nilly fails the engage crucially around Baron. So this Baron might just go. I don't know what happened there. I think Nilly's Q2 timed out because he got stunned by the gravity field. Tax is going to pull up on his amazing steals potentially. Or
no hope at all. They know what he's capable of doing. And they are going to be denied the Baron, to be honest. They're too low. No, they're not.
I don't think
Lingui has teleport. Oh, this is going to be risky. They're bringing the teleport in. If Chrisberg gets caught, he goes down here. I believe that was his shield bow that just got popped. No, it wasn't. That was Lee Sin W.
You can't enter.
Oh, the miasma, though, is just keeping them out. Will stop touch now. They are on. In. They jump. They get the headbutt. They get the pulverize. The gravity field comes down for the slow. They get the wallop as well. Chrisberg makes his way over. Stopwatch coming in. Errol is about to get shut down by Chrisberg. And now Nilly hook shotting away to safety. Kevo can't stick the damage. And Vanir, they played that slow and steady. They played that respectfully. But they are able to secure themselves the Baron.
And this is what I'm talking about. The entire fight started off with Nilly diving, right? Followed by the Vi diving. And it's all this huge mismatch because Cassiopeia doesn't want to follow up on that. You can see Nilly fails this engage, gets caught out. And afterwards, Zeri is just so darn good at cleaning up because Vi, Taxa on this Vi, tries to re-engage, but there's just no follow-up because the champions by nature do not follow up like that. This is why I was calling for something like a Galio, a Talia, you know, instant follow-up on that cease and desist.
Oh,
but we're back into the game, and that's a huge knockup.
Oh, kick back into Taxa. Chrisberg dunks the kill onto Klai as well. A double kill for the Zeri. And Vanir are looking to try and close this game out. Remember, this is the fight for 4th and 5th. This could potentially stop Verdant from making it to the playoffs if Vanir are able to find this win.
So surprising. I'm telling you, the second I stopped believing in Vanir, they became a completely different team. I'm going to stop believing in the teams I want to win. I really thought they'd fallen off, right? All my hope was gone. They were just having such shaky games. And I always thought, and I always dubbed them the most frustrating team to watch because I always saw, like Domino, they were just a better version of Domino. They always had potential, right? Every single one of them individually would always do something, but they would always fall off a cliff mid to late. Now, I am not saying this game is over. This game could very well be thrown. They threw like from a further ahead position against Ruddy. I believe they were like 12k ahead versus Ruddy, and they still lost. So, very real world, they might lose this.
There is a world. I just want to say that me and Veteran, I believed in Vanir.
I knew this was going to come up.
So, you know, ooh, I hope I'm not going to be eating my words in the next 15 minutes, but...
I think you jinxed it.
If I cast the Curse Vanir right now, I am so sorry, Vanir. Actually, no, if you throw this from this position, it's on you. They are so far ahead. Yes, the dragons are equal, though. Soul is a ways away. There's Hextech Soul, very powerful for either team to pick up, but it is a long, long way away. They use that Baron effectively to take down 2 tier 2 turrets. Top lane tier 2 still stands, so they haven't quite got all the way to every base gate, but for now, you know, you got Chrisberg, he's got a level lead over Kevo, he's got 3 items, he's got a BS sword and a crit cloak as well on top of that item as well, so building towards, I assume, a Bloodthirster as his next item, or, well, yeah, that's probably a Bloodthirster. What else could it be? Stormrazor? Nah, there's no way. There's absolutely no. There's no one builds Stormrazor. It's an absolutely dog water item. Down goes that tower as we do see Anar getting killed. The problem with that is they revealed 3 on the other side. So Vanir, they're just going to take the base inhibitor here.
They're going to say, you know what? Yeah, we're going to get the inhibitor, or at least the inhibitor tower and the tier 2, and just trade a kill for it. We're completely fine with that. I will say this is probably the best case scenario for Verdant. They identify that they need to cross map. They probably couldn't defend that anyway. But now I think Nilly could potentially get this turret. He does take it really fast with this Divine Sunder and the raw AD he has. I will say though, there is you can be really quick onto the map and defend split pushes. Because of those Hextech portals, you can make it back onto the map really quickly. So Nilly was a bit scared there, I imagine, of potentially being flanked from that portal. Verdant are on the map now. They have the tempo to potentially push down mid, but it does get wave cleared by out the Chaos Storm.
Yeah, that was nice there by Luca, just to make sure that there is no possible hope for that. Inhibitor does still stand, though, crucially there. Then didn't just trade out a turret and a kill for 2 turrets and an Inhibitor. It was just the 2 turrets, so not the worst trade for them on that front. But Chrisberg now has got that Bloodthirster, so he's always going to have that shield to work with. He's, get inherently a little bit more tankier, a little bit more hard to deal with. And Lingui starting to stack up more and more items and is, slowly but surely becoming a real problem. This game is very much in Vanir's favor right now, and they've got a really good job of just being able to get a hold of it. And honestly, this hasn't looked like 2 teams who have a 3-game difference in the wins and losses. This looks like a much closer game. I mean, it's still technically 4th and 5th fighting it out, but it does look like they should have been closer the whole season long.
Yeah, and I do think that's true, right? I think Verdant's wins, some of them were really shaky. I don't think you can fault me for saying some of them came off the back of just pure random luck smite steals, right? With the Taxa steals. They were down like 5k and they just get a random smite steal and win the game, right? This happened quite consistently, which is really surprising. So I think in another universe, like, this is definitely a lot closer in terms of standings, but I think this is expected in terms of like where they are in the ladder. And how we view them as teams.
I was about to say, not again, Lingui.
No,
he's not going to pay that
safe.
price. I mean, Hexdrake's coming up in the next 25 seconds. There's no way he's overextending topside. He's just picking the wave up, going to play it chill, and his team can secure the dragon. Baron's not up for another 30 seconds, so they can quickly burst this down. Lingui now may find himself in a bit of danger, jumps out the vial. They throw everything into him, but he's about to gnaw out. He gets the wallop onto 2. Luca comes in and makes the hero save. Taxa's slowed. Taxa's laser beamed out. Lingui pulls it off again, and his team get the dragon. They'll move towards that Baron to make sure it's not going to be traded out. Absolutely beautiful by Lingui there.
And Lingui manages to get supported by Luca. Look how fast he is. Pops the ghost, manages to come back at 700 move speed and save his top laner. Buying enough time with that Mega Gnar, and that's the 2nd time Verdant been caught sleeping. Ulting a Gnar, not quite bursting him with that Camille and the Vi, letting him turn Mega and just getting turned on.
Look at the stopwatches now. They've got one on Lingui, they've got one on Ploxy, they've got one on Luca. Like, who do Taxa and Nilly go on? Because Chrisberg is going to be really hard to kill. He's going to be very far back. He's got the Bloodthirster. He's got the barrier and the flash. But in they go for the Baron. It will be done very, very quickly. But Taxa is able to get into range. Touch will see them in the area. Goes to the headbutt pole. Cancels out the Q. Baron's been secured. There was no way he was even going to get remotely close to that one. And Lingui just going to land a boulder toss there. Doesn't land the 2nd, unfortunately. And
those stopwatches just completely threatening, to stop that engage completely. Taxa's just not confident to go in, right? He couldn't even get close to steal. Such good zoning work from Touch right there with the Alistair just headbutting him away the second that Taxa charges up his Q. And now we're going to see the 2nd Baron of the game and see if Vanir can siege with it.
Nilly right behind them on that flank. If Luca or Chrisberg find himself a little bit too chunked out, he's going to make his move. He's coming in for the pounce. Can he find that hook shot over the wall? The miasma goes down. They're going to throw everything down on to Chrisberg. He pops the ultimate. He pops the barrier. He's got the sustain. And that is an absolute whitewash of a fight for Vanir. Wiping the floor with Verdant. A double kill for Ploxy. Only Errol stands.
And
colossally bad.
They get the dream fight as well with that flank chain stunning, but they don't quite burst out before the stopwatches can be used by Luca. And in the end, they managed to pick up the win because of this failed engage.
Errol, the only one standing, slowed down by Lingui, the flash forward by Chrisberg, and there it is. It is not over for Verdant yet. They still need to win a bunch more games now as Vanir